Welcome back, everybody, and happy Friday. Nighttime is back in the studio this week. I'm your host, Patrick Previty. Alongside me, as usual, Matthew Bracker. And since we've been gone, a lot has happened in college football. Army and Navy, they're both ranked at the same time for the first time since 1960. Red River officially met the SEC last week, and the football gods have blessed us with an amazing slate of games for Week 8. But first, we got to start with UCF's loss to Cincinnati.
I guess we do. Yeah, we're going to take you into the bounce house here, and Coach Malzahn shook the team up by starting freshman E.J. Colson, a 17-year-old quarterback. Now, we're going to start this game on offense. But Johnny Richardson's first touch of the day is a fumble. Now, thankfully, the defense held strong, picking off Cincy, so E.J. Colson, he's going to swing this one out to Richardson, but his second touch of the day, another fumble. A sloppy offense early, huh, Pat?
Can't overcome back-to-back fumbles. It is extremely difficult.
You can't, and he's not going to see the field for the rest of the day. But Cincy, they're going to get this ball back almost immediately. Brendan Sorsby on the quarterback keeper. They are up 10-0. This is getting bad. Now, UCF, they wouldn't be able to get anything going offensively. So Cincy's back in the red zone, but it's picked off by, a clutch play right there. But look at this, look at this. Ja'Cory Brown, backup quarterback transfer from Miami, is in the game. He's going to try to give UCF a spark after Colson's lackluster debut and set us up with a huge scramble to set us up for a field goal before the end of the half. Now UCF, they're going to drive here, play action, strike to Kobe Hudson, and we finally find the end zone in the third quarter. Now, fast forward to the fourth. Cincy's going to grab 3, and Sorsby is going to find Tony Johnson in the corner of the end zone. But they're going to miss the extra point, so it's 19-10. Now, 4th and 2, game on the line. Brown's going to let it fly, but Chauncey Magwood, first catch of the season, goes for 34 yards. It sets up a UCF field goal. Now, 3 seconds left. UCF's got a shot, but Jared Bartlett is going to cut through this O-line like butter and take Brown down. And that is your ball game. UCF, are going to lose this rivalry game 19-13, and the Knights have now dropped 3 straight games.
Yeah, the quarterback situation, the big storyline there. But also, R.J. Harvey didn't score a touchdown in this game for the first time this season.
Shocking.
Well, we bring in Kathleen now to go over what exactly happened over the weekend. Obviously, the quarterback situation has been a huge storyline this year. Where does UCF go from here?
Honestly, Patrick, I think that we need to see a lot more from Ja'Cory Brown. I think we need to see him step into a bigger role for this team. We tried KJ Jefferson out for the first few weeks, and what he was giving us, it just wasn't working for our offense. And then I think that EJ, he's a little bit too young to take over this starting quarterback position. And so I see no reason why we shouldn't spend our resources and our time cultivating Ja'Cory Brown into the starting quarterback.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. E.J. Colson, actually 17 years old. I'm pretty sure I saw something. He's one of the youngest quarterbacks to ever start an FBS game, which is just crazy. I thought KJ was going to start this one, but, Speaking of Coach, do you think after 3 straight losses, has he lost this locker room? Are you on the Gus bus, or are you hopping off?
Honestly, Gus is hanging on by a thread at most with this team, with this fan base, with the entire UCF community. He is hanging on by a thread. Now, I'm a diehard Knight. I'm never going to be off the bus. I'm always going to support my Knights no matter what. But my faith is dwindling very fast in Gus. After seeing an L after L every week, it's getting hard to support the decisions that he's making.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, when we look ahead to Iowa State, because UCF has a long list of really good teams still left on the schedule, what are your biggest keys to that game coming up?
Honestly, I think that we really need to focus on having diversity in our offense. We already know that we have a great running game, R.J. Harvey, and then the string, it just keeps going deeper and deeper with great running backs. But we really need to work on this passing game, and we need to work on having it diversified, and we need to make sure that we're not just doing the same play over and over again, because they're going to figure us out real quick. If we keep everything diversified, then we might be able to tire out this amazing Iowa State secondary.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up their secondary. What makes this Iowa State team so good? Is it just their secondary? What do they have offensively?
I mean, honestly, their secondary is the star of the show for me, but I think that their passing game is really, really good as well. But the thing that is really important is the consistency of this Iowa State team. They're consistently beating teams by, 1 to 2 possessions. It's not all these close-cutting games back and forth. They're very consistent and scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, top-ranked team, road game for the Knights. It's going to be tough, going into their house. But, you mentioned diversity in the offense, and now that we are potentially looking more towards Brown for the rest of the season, do you think that, we should stick with the running game, which was kind of a little, not lackluster, but not up to our standards, or should we see what type of arm Ja'Carri Brown has and focus more on the passing game?
What I think Ja'Carri Brown really needs is he needs minutes. He needs to play a bunch of downs, and he needs more experience working with this Knights offense as a whole. Our running game, I think it's pretty solid, but I think when the quarterback situation is struggling, then that has a big effect on our run game, which is why I think we saw it falter so much versus Cincinnati. So I think that if we put more focus onto Ja'Carri Brown and let him get these reps in, then we can see a major improvement in the Knights offense.
So sorry if you have given away your answer, but obviously we want to have an offense that can pass the ball. Who do you think should start at quarterback this week?
Definitely Ja'Carri Brown. Again, he needs the time, he needs the minutes. I think that he's our best hope at this point. KJ Jefferson, again, he had his time to try and show us what he could do, but I feel like that time's kind of run out for him. And then EJ, again, he needs more time to grow. A 17-year-old backing this Knights team is definitely not what we need. He needs a couple years maybe to settle into everything and grow as a player.
Yeah, I mean, EJ, he didn't look like terrible as a rusher, but only 1 completion in that game for -6 yards. That's just not going to do it for you. But looking forward to the rest of the season. It's a tough schedule. We're going to face a couple ranked teams. Are there any games that still look beatable to you?
This is a tough one, Matthew. I think that this week is going to play a lot into what games that we can win for the rest of the season. If Iowa State, if we kind of hold our own against them, then I have a lot more faith that we can take down, Utah and West Virginia and Arizona State. I have a lot more confidence if we can either take down Iowa State or hold our own against them and not get blown out.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this week is definitely going to show us what we're kind of made of. Changing the quarterback situation last week, just really unusual with E.J. Colson starting the game and not playing the rest of the game.
Right.
So we'll definitely know a lot more about this Knights offense, I think, with a full week to kind of game plan the exact way that they're going to attack Iowa State for. Now, we just said, hey, look, we don't know how many games are winnable, but let's just make a prediction. Out of the rest of the season, and when you look at this UCF team, do they make a bowl this year?
It's so tough because, again, this game is really going to decide so much for whether I'm on the bus or if I'm off the bus. And I'm going to say right now, because I have faith that we're going to make a bowl game, but I feel like that confidence is dwindling day by day.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm scared. I'm nervous. I got to be honest.
I am scared too.
For the domino effect if UCF does not go bowling. And I get it. People don't want to go 6-6. They want to be better than that. But what could potentially happen to the program if this team does not make a bowl game?
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. I think that we can maybe pull it off with 6 wins. Utah's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. But Arizona, hey, we've never lost in space. I feel like we can maybe get a win off Arizona State. Maybe West Virginia too. It's just so tough now. I have no idea what the direction of this team. But you know what? We are going to move past the Knights, and we are going to get into our Game of the Week picks. Kathleen, you will be making a pick this week, but unfortunately, I did lose last week's Game of the Week. I picked Ohio State. They would have won if refs knew how slides worked. So give me 1 second, please.
This is the chicken time for Matthew Bracker.
Chicken.
This is.
Yeah. So I guess I will start with my Game of the Week pick. Let's see if I did any better. Georgia and Texas. This is going to be a super fun game and a super fun week of college football. I'm picking Texas here to win it in an offensive blowout. I think defenses will give in this one. Give me Texas 42-38.
So we're actually in agreement here. I'm also going to go with Texas. I got them 28-24, so a little bit less scoring in my prediction. I've been pretty good this year. I think are we both 5-1, or you might be 4-2 actually right now?
Yeah. We were tied.
But we've been doing pretty good so far. Texas was my SEC champion prior to the season starting, so I think I got to rock with them.
Yeah, I'm going to have to stick with Texas as well, although it's kind of hard to say that when, you know, the guy wearing the chicken hat also is picking Texas. But I have a lot of faith in Texas. You know, they've been doing well in the AP poll every week. Even though Georgia's, you know, they've fallen down in the AP poll the last couple weeks, I still think that this is going to be a really fun game to watch. But I definitely think they're going to hold each other to about 27-21. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring.
I guess we're in agreement.
Yeah.
All of us. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kathleen, for coming on today.
Thank you.
We will see you definitely soon in future shows. But we're going to go over everything else that happened in Week 7 of college football in the next segment. But before we get there, we're going to check in on the third member of our team today, Patrick DeLeon, with an update on men's soccer.
Thanks, guys. Kicking off our quick soccer recap, we had the UCF men's side falling to number 6 Marshall 2-0 this past Sunday. The Knights are now 1-3 in conference play and are 3 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws on the season. UCF look like a former of their number 1 ranked selves from the previous year. Pittsburgh would also come to suffer a shock defeat to Berkeley on Friday, October 11th, losing 1-0 and ending their 7-game winning run. Emil Jaskalainen, in other news, over at Akron, is in stellar form and is looking to continue that against DePaul on Saturday. UCF play Old Dominion on Friday at 7 p.m. here at the UCF Soccer Complex. That's all I have for you guys. Back to you.
And thank you, Patrick. A lot going on in the world of college soccer. Alongside Patrick Previty, I'm Matthew Bracker, and it's time to take a trip around the country, starting with our game of the week, number 2 Ohio State at number 3 Oregon. This was a fun one. Now, Ohio State, they're going to get the party started here, all right, on the road against Oregon. Huge matchup, a lot of offense in this one. It was a crazy game.
Yeah.
But they're going to get started with a Will Howard goal line rush, but it's going to be Jordan James breaking a tackle here, rushing for a huge gain to their 3, setting up their own goal line rush. But Trayvon Henderson says, hey, I can break one off too. And he does this here on a huge 53-yard run, setting Ohio State up for another goal line score, 3 straight. They're up 14-6. Now, Dylan Gabriel he's going to throw an absolute dot, a crazy grab by Evan Stewart. Dylan Gabriel, why'd you have to go?
Yeah, Heupel era, man. We would love to have those days back.
Now, Ohio State, they are going to answer with a strike to Emeka Egbuka, putting the Buckeyes up 21-15. Now, if you thought this half was over, you're dead wrong, buddy. Dylan's going to let this go deep, and Tez Johnson is going to reel it in for a 48-yard touchdown bomb. What a half. Oh, my goodness.
Game of the week delivering.
Start of the second half, OSU down by 1. Will Howard's going to roll out and find his guy, Jeremiah Smith, and we got another lead change. Now, look at this, 3rd and 2. Gabriel, he's going to step up, get the first, but he wants more. He's hungry. He's going to get past him for 6. Now, follow me here. 6 seconds left in the game. Both teams pick up field goals, so it's Ohio State in range. 31-32. Will Howard, he's going to scramble, try to get down. He's going to try to slide down here, but he runs out of time. Officials say this game is over and Oregon is going to escape. What an ending. They didn't even show the 12 men on the field penalty before the slide.
Yeah, that was crazy. The ending of the game was just almost something you couldn't even really believe because it looked like there was a second on the clock there for Ohio State, but refs made their call. They made their decision. Now, you mentioned the 12 people on the field penalty. That is something that does not reset the clock in college football, but it does in the NFL. Do you remember the Kenny Pickett slide?
I do.
Fake slide, I should say.
Yeah.
The NCAA got rid of that quick. I think that this will be a rule that they change fairly quickly, probably after the season, because I'm always thinking, why don't teams do this all the time? I mean, Dan Lanning's going to keep doing it, I guess, if he's in a situation like this come Big Ten championship time or anything like that, or maybe even in the playoffs. But now it is time for the almost upset of the week. We're going to head to Penn State USC. This was my underdog pick of the week, actually, but Penn State came in as 3.5-point favorites, but also with something to prove. Early on, we see Tyler Warren make a difference. for the Nittany Lions. We are going to hear his name a lot this year. That would lead to a field goal, but it was USC with this reverse to score the game's first touchdown. Quentin Joyner, 75 yards down the field, and USC is going to go up early. Now in the second quarter, Trojans up 14-3. Drew Aller throws an interception. USC is gaining a lot of momentum here.
A great game so far. Pretty solid game from Miller Moss too. He's still going. Look at that. Ooh.
To the second half, we're going to go after this play. USC, excuse me. I wish it was UCF. They would go up 20-6 at halftime. But the first sign of life on this trick play from Penn State, that's Drew Aller, lined up out wide to who else but Tyler Warren.
Crazy game from Warren here. Stats aside, insane, but he was everywhere. He played fullback, center, tight end. He got busy. He had a completion in this game. Dude is the next Taysom Hill.
No, I don't know about that, but skipping ahead to 3 minutes left in the game, Penn State still down 7. This would send the game to overtime. And after a USC missed field goal, this Penn State made field goal wins them the game.
Wow.
That is their first lead since the very beginning of the game. So no better time to lead in the game than at the end of the game.
That was a fun one for sure.
Absolutely.
And Warren, what a performance. I think I saw he tied the all-time single game record for a tight end in receptions with 17. It just goes to show you never know what to expect in any college football matchup. But we are going to check out some SEC action because it's time for Ole Miss at LSU. And we're going to drop you right into the middle of the first. And Nussmeier, what happened, man? Double tip drill. Look at the big man. Freak interception for LSU. But they would stop Ole Miss in the red zone on 4th and 1. Defense was setting the tone early. Now, Ole Miss is going to get this ball back. Jackson Dart, hearing some Heisman conversation, he's going to air this one out deep to Trey Harris, and it's caught. 47 yards, setting Ole Miss up with a field goal. What a year for Harris.
Yeah, and in this game, he continued his dominance. 7 receptions, 102 yards, 1 touchdown.
Crazy, but it's not just Harris getting it done. Ulysses Bentley IV. That's a football name if I've ever heard one, and he's going to score on a 50-yard rush. Ole Miss 10-0, but that wouldn't last long. LSU would get on the board very next drive. Touchdown grab for Trey Green. But the half's not over. Jackson Dart to who else? Trey Harris, leaping catch. What a freak! Dude is special. Now LSU under a minute to go. It's going to be a touchdown here to Xavier Thomas. Wait, no. This is ruled incomplete. Patrick, do you like the call? What do you see here?
Well, obviously, I'm looking at the replay here to see whether or not he controls it. It looks like the ground is going to help him catch that football. I think that's incomplete.
Yeah, it's tricky, but, LSU is going to put up a field goal after that, force a fumble, score another field goal. So it's 2016. Nussmeier going to let it fly here, but it's picked off by Ole Miss. His guy never had a chance. Ole Miss is going to get the field goal, but LSU, they got one more shot, 4th and 5, and it's a touchdown. We have overtime. Ole Miss, they are going to get the ball first here, but be forced to kick a 57-yarder, and it is good. Whoa. Shades of Maddox Trujillo, but it's overtime. It ain't going to be enough. Nussmeier finds Kyron Lacey for a touchdown game winner. LSU with the death blow in Death Valley, and they're going to upset Ole Miss 29-26, rush the field. It is a nighttime instant classic.
Man, Ole Miss, where do you go from here now?
Dude,
they're falling down the rankings, and they got to get a lot of really quality wins.
Do you see the press conference? They turned Jackson Dart into a supervillain.
Anakin Skywalker.
We got to win out. There's no other option.
And now LSU's stock is up, I'd say.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, because I was kind of high on them in the beginning of the year, too, and this is a great win for them, for sure.
But now it is time for my favorite segment of the show, and to the Red River we go. Ewers back in action for the Longhorns, but it was the ground game for Texas that won them this game. After going down 0-3 early, they scored 34 unanswered. They remain at the top of the AP poll. Next up, Alabama, South Carolina, the Tide looking to bounce back after a historic loss to Vandy last week. But the Cox made it a game. Lenore Sellers to Nick Harbor. He'd get his foot in. They'd come within 2, but that's as far as they got. 2-point try. No good. Bama escapes 27-25. Moving to last Friday night, Arizona State adds to the chaos in the Big 12. Behind Kenny Dillingham, they avenged their 55-3 loss to Utah last year. And now he replaces Dan Lanning as the youngest coach in FBS history to get a ranked win. Utes, on the other hand, they're on the outside looking in. Sun Devils won that one by 8. Illinois, Purdue, Boilermakers looking for an upset, but it's Luke Altmaier to Pat Bryant. Illinois would kick the PAT, and on the ensuing possession, Purdue would risk it and come up short on the biscuit. Their 2-point try would fail. Illinois 50, Purdue
Should not have been
49.
that close.
Over to Vanderbilt at Kentucky, battle of the 3 and 2 SEC teams. Diego Pavia here with the second of his 2 passing touchdowns. Commodore is on the way to being ranked here soon. They win this one 20-13. More Big 12 action. Kansas State, Colorado, 2 minutes left in the game. Buffs took the lead just a minute before this. Avery Johnson to Jace Brown. A little controversy at the end of the game when Colorado got the ball, but no change in the calls now. The Wildcats are ranked 17th in the country now. Iowa State, West Virginia. West Virginia led the game, led after the opening quarter, but they wouldn't for the rest of the night after the 60-yard touchdown. Cyclones are now the highest-ranked Big 12 team in the country at 9. And the Big 12 championship right now would be them against BYU.
I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning of the year.
Not at all. Tennessee, Florida, also known as the 3rd Saturday in September, playing on the 2nd Saturday in October because that's college football now. Bulls ended up winning this game in overtime, 23-17. They now play Bama on the 3rd Saturday in October, so at least that checks out. Week 7 scores right here, and the Week 8 slate is now upon us.
I can't wait for Week 8. It is going to be absolutely amazing, but we can't look that far ahead because it's time for my favorite segment, Swords and Shields. You want to start this one off?
Yes, my sword is Bryson Daly. The Army quarterback has 20 touchdowns on the season and 0 turnovers last week against UAB in a dominant win. He had 238 total yards and 5 total touchdowns.
That's just crazy. I mean, can you believe the season Army is having? But my sword is going to be, who else? Tyler Warren. This might be my favorite sword of the year. This guy was unstoppable. Nearly doubled his yearly production coming into this one. 17 catches, 224 yards, and a touchdown. Tied the record for most single game receptions in a game for a tight end ever, like I said. Recorded a couple carries, a completion. He played like a million positions. This guy went absolutely crazy. I mean, his draft stock is up.
This may be one of the best games ever played by a tight end in college football history.
I have to agree with you there. Just absolute dominance from the tight end position. And you just don't really see that in college football anymore. But it is time to get into shields.
Yes, the other side of the ball. My shield this week is going to be Braden Swinson of LSU. He is 5th in the nation in sacks, and last week he added 2 of them to his collection. He had 8 tackles against Ole Miss. That is my second LSU defensive player that I have chosen, but that defense is just flying around. They're playing really good football.
Yeah, you love those guys in Death Valley. But I'm going to take Aaron Graves, the lineman from Iowa. Now, he recorded 5 total tackles and 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. And just for fun, he threw in a pass deflection. Dude absolutely dominated against Washington.
Well, I guess that does it for the college football in Week 7. Now, coming up, we're going to talk with Patrick. We're going to talk about UCF volleyball in the next segment when we welcome on Jeremy Bellande. But first, we're going to also send it back to Patrick DeLeon for women's soccer.
Thanks, guys. Our UCF women's soccer program is currently struggling with a 6-game winless run looming over their heads, with their last win dating back to September 12th. The ladies are now 1 win, 3 losses, 3 draws in conference play, and 3 wins, 4 losses, 5 draws all season. Chloe Netzel still leading the charge with her personal best goal-scoring record this season. She's still looking to spark a run of good form for the Knights. In other news, Duke hold on to the #1 position in the United Soccer Coaches Poll with a record of 9 wins, 1 loss after a close 2-1 victory over number 17 Berkeley, heading into their next match against Boston College. Kira Harper leading the pack in goals scored this season, and she will continue to hope to add to that tally throughout the rest of the season. That's all I have for you guys. Back to you.
And
Great stuff from Patrick, as always.
yeah, amazing stuff from Patrick, as always. But we are going to get into volleyball for the first time this year. I'm really excited, and we're going to have Jeremy joining us here and talking with us. Thanks for hopping on.
No problem. I'm excited to talk my sport, guys.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, he was a nighttime regular last season, so it's nice to get him back in the studio. Okay, so the women's volleyball team for UCF, they're very talented, but they're struggling in conference play. Why is that?
Honestly, I feel like the reason that the volleyball team is struggling right now is really just beating themselves up mentally. So, for example, last week in the Dig Pink Colorado game, Colorado took the first set 25-21, and it was a really close matchup. And so in the next set, the Knights came out fierce. They were getting amazing kills. Chloe Shear was doing great on digs. Overall, they were doing exceptional. They took that set. Then they got complacent. And then once Colorado started like gaining more traction, they started losing again. And so I think they just beat themselves up mentally. Like, they have the firepower to do great things, but I think it's all just in the mentality of how they play.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's the story for a lot of team sports, You're only as good as your mistakes, truthfully. But, for some people who, might be a little new to UCF volleyball, who are some players to look out for on the team?
So honestly, I would say probably one of my favorite players to watch, and she's super good, is Emily Wilson. She's an outside hitter for UCF. She is constantly leading the team in kills for the night. Like, I think she tied, a Big 12 record for like 30-something kills in a game a couple weeks ago. And if she's not number one, she's usually not that far behind. And so I think she's honestly probably, I would say, the best player. Like, if you guys know who Abby Hansen was last year, she kind of reminds me of her.
Now, NCAA sports is completely different, and the landscape has changed over the last handful of years with the transfer portal. Who is the best or most impactful transfer for the women's volleyball team?
Now, to talk about the most impactful transfer, I would absolutely say it has to be the 6'7" middle blocker, Alexia Kuhl. She has been an absolute monster. Like, just last night when she played, she led the team in kills with, I believe, either 14 or 15. And on the defensive end, I mean, 6'7", let's just think about that for a second. She is able to block so many attempts from other teams, usually leading with 3-4 blocks a game. And again, if she's not number one, she's number two with just either one or two behind the person in front of her. She has been absolutely amazing. I think she was honestly probably one of the best pickups that UCF volleyball has seen in recent years. And I know this probably is her last season, so it's pretty sad to see her go. But overall, she's an amazing player.
Yeah, no, she's definitely an impact transfer for us for sure. And it's definitely gonna be sad to see her go. But moving on, team as a whole, I know you mentioned sometimes they make a couple mistakes. They kind of play off that. What are some of their strengths? What are some of this team's strengths and some of their weaknesses?
Some of their strengths, honestly, ironically enough, I would say the height. We have a really tall team. I was there last week at the, I think we were playing Nevada or West Virginia, one of those two teams. But the other team, they were, obviously the girls are tall, like 5'8" to 6 foot. But when you look at our starters, again, Alexia Kuhl, 6'7", our outside hitters, like 6'4", 6'5", and then all the other blockers are like 6'3" and 6'4". So obviously we have a really tall team. They are able to make stuff happen when they get the flow going. They're a dominating team. And so honestly, I would say probably our biggest strength is our height. Now going on to weaknesses, I've had the chance to talk with head coach Jenny Maurer a lot, and you only play as good as your mistakes are, like literally. When they have all the necessities they need to win, but if they can't play clean volleyball, and I think that goes back to the mindset thing, that's what is slowing them down. I don't know if it's because it's the Big 12 conference that they're getting a little shaken up, but honestly, I think what they need to work on is just trusting each other and gaining confidence, even if it's a big name team, because I feel like that's what's really slowing them down.
Okay, so let's say they do clean up their play and they play clean volleyball. What is the ceiling for this team?
Honestly, I do think that if they continue to clean up their act, because they started the season out hot. They were on like a 4-something game win streak, and now they're 8-7, and they've only won one conference game. So I think that if they were to clean up their act, I mean, with the stars that we have, I think we can make like a pretty deep playoff run. Obviously, like this team, they have people who have experience at different teams who have gone really far. So if we continue to just focus on the things that we need to and clean up some of the play, I think this team can make it pretty far.
I know, I agree, and I think that they can do it. We've definitely seen some highlights out of this team this year, so it's definitely possible. But Jeremy, do you have one message for anyone who is looking to tune into UCF volleyball for the rest of the season?
Even though we're in kind of a slump right now, I would say keep an eye out for this team because, same as any other sport, let them catch a spark in like the middle of the season. I mean, we're kind of here right now, but let them catch a spark, and I guarantee you this team will go far. We have some of the, I would say, some of the most underrated players that I've seen in a long time. So if we just focus and get locked in like we need to, I think that if you as a viewer want to get into volleyball, this would be some matchups you would want to watch.
Well, here's to hoping that they have that spark and continue a great season for UCF volleyball. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining us today and talking UCF volleyball. For everybody in the studio, Big Play Shay, All-State Danny, Justice Montana Covert, and Matthew Bracker, I'm Patrick Previty, and we will see you guys next Friday.